All right, back here with questions 1.2 and 1.3 from the test. Again, I recommend really that you pause the video before I take the derivative of secant of x times e to the x, and then do it yourself, and then come back and look at this if you struggled, or double check your answer, and likewise for each question here. Okay. Again, now that we're going to do the question, this is a chain rule question, so we have to decide what are our inside functions and our outside functions. So our outside function here, I should say, is secant of x. Our inside function is x times e to the x. Putting these together would give us secant of x times e to the x, which is what I want. So we'll write down the derivatives. So the derivative of secant of x is secant of x tangent of x. And the derivative of x times e to the x. Here's where we need to remember that this is a product, so I need to use the product rule. It's the derivative of the first times the second plus the first times the derivative of the second, like that. Probably I'll go ahead and write that as x plus 1 times e to the x. All right, and now all we have left to do is to apply the chain rule. So we're going to get that little g prime of x is going to be f prime of g, so that is secant of x times e to the x times tangent of, and notice I have to plug this x times e to the x into both of these places, times, and then we need to multiply by the derivative of big G, so times x plus 1 times e to the x. All right, and that is our answer. Okay, I'll pause for a second. Okay. The next question, 1.3 now, asks us to find the derivative of 4 times the sine of x to the fourth of x plus 1 at pi over 6. Okay. So note, you're going to want to have your handy-dandy unit circle nearby for this kind of calculation, because we're going to need to, at the end of the day, look up this value on your unit circle. But first, we need to write what are the functions being composed here. So I'll go ahead and say what the outside function and the inside function are. Namely, the outside function here is 4x to the fourth plus 1. And the inside function is sine of x. And what that means is that f prime of x is just 16x cubed, and g prime of x is cosine of x. Again, all we have to do is apply the chain rule at this point. So our derivative is going to be f prime of g, so that is 16 sine cubed of x times g prime, so times cosine of x. Okay, so now we have our derivative. All we have to do is plug it into, plug pi over 6 into this derivative. So h prime of pi over 6 is going to be 16 times the sine of pi over 6 cubed. Okay, the sine of pi over 6 is a half. You can look that up on your unit circle. And then times the cosine of pi over 6, which is root 3 over 2. And so if you simplify this a bit, you'll get in the numerator a 16 times the square root of 3. And in the denominator, you will get, well, 2 cubed times 2, so that is 16. And so that means that this is just square root of 3. All right, that's it for this video. In the next one, we'll go on and we'll do more questions from the test.